Welcome to the bright side of longevity. Join Dr. Roger Landry and guests as they discuss the bright side of getting older through healthy longevity. Guided by research, this lighthearted and educational discussion will leave you with practical tips and ways to impact your lifestyle to brighten life's journey.
Well, welcome everybody. Bright side of longevity. Danielle and I are here for you. Hello, Danielle.
Hey, Roger.
Today, I am so excited about our topic because I'm with the right person, first of all. Mindfulness. How many times have you heard that lately? I hope a lot, because Danielle and I consider it so important. We've been developing lots of content and resilience and EQ and mindset, and mindfulness always comes up. It's sort of the core. But I still think that there's a misunderstanding about what it is, or a total confusion. And so we decided that today we wanted to make this understandable, make it simple, because it really is, when you come down to it. And it's something that is simple, but unfortunately rare in our society today, as we rush through life and as we think about our to-do list, or we think about the world and all the problems and what's happening in our lives. And so we're not present. But mindfulness, as we've been doing all this content, and we figure it's so important. It's important for our quality of life. It's important to manage or to avoid stress-related disorders, all kinds, from heart disease, dementia, cancer even. It's important for resilience, our emotional intelligence, our ability to manage our emotions and to have a meaningful relationship with others who have emotions. And it's on and on and on. I think I've said it before in one of our podcasts, that to me, it's what Curly says, the one thing in City Slickers, the one thing that's important in life. And I have grown more and more, Danielle, and you know this, to appreciate mindfulness as the core of all that. And so I want this to be available to more people. And I can't think of anyone I'd rather do this podcast with on mindfulness. So are we up for it?
I'm up for it, and I'm honored to be here.
Oh,
I came prepared, Roger. I have an activity for you in mindfulness. Are you game?
I'm game.
All right, get a piece of paper and pen. Anybody listening, if you don't have a paper and a pen or pencil, pause this, go get one, come back, we'll wait. Okay.
I am ready.
So what I'd like you to do, we're going to do something simple. You're going to draw a circle. And the only rule is I want you to take time to inhale and exhale. So in other words, you might inhale as you're drawing half the circle. You might exhale as you finish, but don't finish the circle till you've taken one full deep breath in and out. And just notice what you observe.
All right. Are we ready?
We're ready. I'll be quiet for a moment.
I am on it. Okay.
Good. All right. So tell me what you experienced, Roger, and I'll tell you what most people might have experienced.
Well, it was really something. When I started, I said to myself, "Oh, a circle. I'm not sure I can do this, but I'm going to do it." And as I started to inhale and to draw, sort of everything went quiet in my head, and it was just going through that motion, which was very nice, very pleasant,
Nice.
actually. And then as I was exhaling on the second part, I got to about 9 o'clock, 3/4 of the way through, and I made a little squiggle. I don't know why. And I made a face, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to screw the rest of it up." And I finished it. So it was like half pleasant and half, self-critical.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. Number one, when you were breathing and when thoughts went away, it's because you were really more focused on your breath and just drawing the line without judging it. As soon as you started judging, like, oh, this is a terrible circle, your mind went someplace else. It started wandering again. So the mind wandering, very common, the self-judgment, very common. And not just self-judgment, judgment in general, like, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? This is a waste of time. Or maybe someone's like, I got to pick up my kids up at 3. I've got to go to the grocery store. And so it's really easy to be anywhere but here, just very simply drawing a circle and taking a breath.
So that's pretty, that's one of the best definitions or examples of understanding it that I have heard. I'm not surprised coming from you, Danielle. So it really is. We walk around with our heads, sort of our mind always spinning, like running laps, our thoughts in our head. The Buddhists call it monkey mind, right? We're all over the place. And very rarely are we at a place where our mind is quiet. And when it is, that's really mindfulness, no matter what you're doing, right?
Yes, I think at a very basic level and a very textbook level, it's awareness without thought or judgment. But I think it's so much more than that people say those buzzwords, but more importantly, it's self-awareness. It's social awareness, understanding others and how you relate to one another and to the environment and the world around you. So to me, being mindful is just a more enlightened way of being.
Ah, I'm for that. Who wouldn't be, right? So, I guess it really comes down to how do we shut our mind down? Because it seems as if when we can do that, then we're more present in this moment. I read a book once, Type A Personality in Your Heart, and said, life is a series of moments. Miss those moments, miss your life.
Yeah.
And so how can we be more present for the moments when we're all afflicted by this, our mind always going? We think we're our mind, right? And we're not. We're sort of spirituals, being souls, and the mind is a tool. The brain is a tool, but it's sort of taken over because we humans have such high level brains, right?
Yeah, I'd like to give 2 examples, one at its most basic level, and then maybe we can expand on it. Because the reason being is when you tell people to stop and take a breath and notice what's happening, or to give themselves a pause for a short meditation break, they say, I can't shut my mind off, and they give up. So before we leave, I'd like to give tools, different options for people who say, I can't meditate, I can't be mindful. But first, at a basic level, and John Kabat-Zinn talks about this a lot in mindfulness-based stress reduction, that you can, at varying moments throughout the day, as soon as you think about it, just stop. What am I noticing around me? How am I feeling inside? So whenever it comes to mind, just take a moment to stop and be aware of what's happening around you and within. And if you have so much chaos around you, set a timer on your phone that's going to remind you, oh, it's time to pause. And it could just be for 1 minute. It could be, even if it's 30 seconds, just stop and notice, because that can be the difference if you're about to get angry about something, if you're stressed about something, to say, where did my mind just go there? I need to stop.
That's excellent. And Eckhart Tolle talks about this also, and I think other spiritual advisors talk about it, that the mind is controlling us when we're in a loop, and our thoughts, it's really controlling us. And if we can step out for a second and say, look what my mind's doing, look at where my thoughts are going, that's crazy. What? No, you don't have to judge, but if you just observe it and you see what's happening, that second you are being mindful. As you observe what your mind was doing. So it's not only shutting those thoughts down, it's being able to observe that they're happening, is it?
Yeah. Yes. And the good word that I like to use too is discernment. So I use the example of like if I were looking at myself on a movie screen and I'm watching and I realized that my reaction was over the top, I'm not judging myself, but I'm noticing, I'm discerning, is that the way I want to be? And we've spoken with Sarah Menser on the team before, where she has described that she's like, she pretends similar, fly on the wall, just kind of noticing herself. And that's what it really allows you to do, is just notice with discernment and think, is this what I want for me? Is this how I want to think? Is this how I want to be?
So Danielle, when we're talking about this whole topic of mindfulness, meditation always comes up, and that's appropriate. But I think people can be confused about exactly what meditation is.
Yeah, people use them interchangeably, and mindfulness is all encompassing. It's the awareness without thought or judgment. It's noticing what's happening around you and within you. Meditation is the process around mindfulness. So you can be mindful without necessarily sitting and meditating. Meditation would be setting the intention, like, okay, I'm going to go in this room. I'm going to shut the door where it's quiet. I'm going to sit and close my eyes and take a few deep breaths, whatever the process is for you. So meditation is more the extended mindfulness and how you create that process around it.
So whereas what we're doing today is mindfulness 101, mindfulness 201 would probably deal with meditation.
Yes.
Okay. We talked about this earlier when we were talking about what happened during the pandemic. During the pandemic, we all, I think, experienced a change in our lives, a disruption, and some sort of a new look at our lives. And one of the things I did is I started drawing, and I immediately noticed what was happening. I became just lost in the present moment of the shadows and the colors and the shades and the lines, and time went away, and there was no time, and I felt so good. And that's what we're talking about. Those are moments of mindfulness and presence, aren't they?
Absolutely. And there are ways to tie it into a person's lifestyle that fits them. So for example, you were drawing. That might not be art, might not be someone's thing. Music might not be someone's thing. So, when we talk about it in terms, we always talk about lifestyle. So think about it this way. If you're looking at your lifestyle and you're saying, well, I'm a really social being, how do I bring more mindfulness into my social circle? It could be every interaction. What am I doing to make that interaction positive with that other person? You're the one who put me on to the book, How Full Is Your Bucket?
Yes.
And that, to me, it was so simple, but, every day, are you putting a drop in to enhance someone's lives? Or are you taking a drop out? Or when you think about, physical, it's noticing when you're running around the day, I've spoken with clients who don't know they're ready to burn out until they crash. They have to shut their phone off, climb under the covers because they're sick, and just disappear because they didn't notice their body showing signs of stress. So mindfulness can show you on the physical sense. On the spiritual or the peace and fulfillment, as you mentioned, doing art. And intellectual is kind of what we're talking about with that fly on the wall, just looking at our reactions, noticing and observing other people. So it can be part of every facet of every day for us.
But don't get into the trap, right? I mean, as you do this, you're becoming aware of, saying, a conversation you're having with someone or how you're looking at something, and then saying, God, that was awful. I'm a scumbag for doing that. Don't get into that trap, because then you're judging, right? And then your mind is taken over again. It's just being aware of what's happening, with and accepting it and with judgment, but noticing it. It's like we're walking through our lives in coma, and have you ever gotten into a car or something and driven 10 miles or so and not remember anything that you saw, or what trees, or the wind was blowing,
Right.
sun was out?
You forgot how you got there. You're suddenly, hey, I'm at the grocery store, but I don't remember driving here.
Because you were in your head,
Yeah.
and certainly you're paying attention to driving, and you can be very present as you drive. Of course, if someone cuts you off, and you start yelling and screaming, that doesn't count. But really, it's really about living and being alive, and where you are, your whole self. Where are you during these moments of your life? Are you in the moment? John Kabat-Zinn wrote, wherever you are, be there, rather than having your head take you out somewhere else. So maybe how about some other things that we might do to bring ourselves into a state of presence and being mindful. Drawing is one, but I think when you're with a pet, frequently, just with a pet, I think that can do it. I know it lowers blood pressure and makes you healthier being with a pet. I think that can do it. That's like being with nature. And you must know a bunch more.
Yeah, we could do it right now. If we turned around with our listeners in here and said, stop right now, close your eyes, take a breath. What's your body doing? Can you feel the chair? Are you sitting down? Can you feel your body resting on the chair, the weight of it resting? Can you notice your breath? Did you suddenly become aware that you were so engaged with this podcast that you forgot what was happening around you? And that's what we're talking about, just taking those moments. And as you're saying, Roger, actively seeking out ways that make sense for us. So again, what area of your life needs your attention? And then think of all the creative ways, like we mentioned with social. It could be simply being a better listener and really and listening for understanding versus to respond. Physical. For some people, I am not an athlete, but I say a moderate exerciser all the way. I'll do yoga and Pilates. I'll do a power walk. I'll swim. For some people, it's hardcore weightlifting. And so for some people, it's being physically active or competing. So it's really discovering, what do you enjoy doing with your time? How do you spend your time? And then weaving mindful moments into that.
I think it was in Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, that he talked about why so many people go in for very dangerous things like climbing, race car driving, parachuting, whatever, because when you're doing those things, you have to be paying attention to what you're doing at the moment, or else you can die.
Yes.
And so this is sort of doing something that requires you to be totally present. And people talk about a rush, right?
Yes.
Don't they? And and we know the endorphins flow during these moments, and that's basically what's happening. You're paying attention to what you're doing. It doesn't have to be life-threatening, and we can work at this so that we can experience these more. And I know you would say this, but I'll say it. There's no way we can be this way all the time.
No. And what you discussed was kind of the flow state, right? So in positive psychology, when you get in that zone, it requires your complete attention. You don't necessarily have to do something life-threatening, but it can definitely be life-changing. You've had it with drawing. I've had it with writing, where all of a sudden the ideas come pouring out. So that's flow state. You cannot possibly work at optimal level without a break. So no, you can't be mindful all the time, because we're human. And we probably wouldn't want to be.
But only seconds can make the difference, right? So, if you're all wound up, so to speak, and you can do something that even for seconds will sort of reboot your head and make you present. That itself can protect you from not only the anxiety that you feel, but also the disease, the high blood pressure and the cardiovascular disease, and certainly make you a better person to have a relationship with. Don't you want to have a relationship with someone who really pays attention to what's happening between you, and is not always somewhere else?
Yeah, just listening to the other person and just giving them even the gift of time and being fully present without looking at your phone, without getting distracted by other things, and notice how those relationships change. And you actually I'll give a bonus tip in terms of relationships. A lot of times, particularly people who've been in relationships for a long time, whether it's a family member or a romantic partner, they start to nitpick, and people discovered this during lockdown, all the annoying stuff they didn't realize about their partner or family members. With mindfulness, you can shift the focus and say, wow, what are the good qualities? Like, oh, he emptied the dishwasher without, I didn't ask, he just did that, save me time. Or, somebody took the dog out for a walk when I was busy. Start to notice what little things, like, oh, they made me they make me dinner every night. To start to notice the good qualities and see how it affects your relationships.
For the better, I'm sure. So anyone can do this, really, right?
Absolutely.
And as you say, it's a personal thing, that it fits with your life. But I know when I'm being mindful. Like the first half of that circle, I knew there was a difference.
Yes.
And when I draw, I know there's a difference, and you're there. It's really a beautiful place.
Yes.
It's not, it's not like being in some altered state or anything. In fact, it's just the opposite. It's being more present for the moment rather than distracted and mind off. So I know, I believe that what we've talked about says it's simple, that it difficult for sure in our environment, but is something that when you pay attention to, it becomes very doable. The results are fantastic. I mean, there's health, quality of life, everything. It's just sort of the core of being human. And I hope we've made it more understandable. I think you have for me. I know you have for me, and I hope for more people, Danielle. It's what you do, don't you?
Well, thank you for inviting me to talk about this topic. It's, of course, one of my favorites, as you know.
Any last tips for anyone?
I think I gave a ton, so I don't want to overdo it. But I think if you're going to do one takeaway, you said the one thing would be to set a timer or stop yourself at least 3 times a day and just notice what is going on with my mind and my body, what's happening around me, and just notice. You don't even have to do anything, just notice.
Perfect. We can all do that. Danielle, I'm a lot smarter. I always am after one of our sessions. What a pleasure. And I hope this helps everybody out there. You can do it too. More mindful, I think we'd have a better world.
You've been listening to Dr. Roger and Friends, The Bright Side of Longevity. If you like the show, please rate and review, and be sure to click to follow.